Alec Kurceba, that's a name that is synonymous with baseball in Morse Place and Elmwood, and maybe down in Fort Frances International Falls, because that's been part of your baseball career.
And hockey, right?
Yeah,
and hockey,
sure.
Right. But but I was just reminiscing myself and thought that how I really got into baseball was I always liked it, and as a young man, about 12, 13 years old, not a young man, boy, 12, 13 years old, my uncle took me to a Northern League ball game, the Winnipeg Maroons, and I remember vividly, and I was so intent with this catcher, Marty Milkey was his name, so it was easy to remember, and that's hard for a Kukaranian, but anyways, the thing is that I noticed what he did, and I followed his steps as I progressed, and later on sitting those ball players were Frankie Daniker, Punchy LaFrance, and all these guys, and I remember them vividly because it was a great ball game, and they did win the ball game that particular day. But in the meantime, as I progressed playing ball and practicing in the backyard, we put a light up and Paul used our mother's shoe polish, white shoe polish, keeping the ball white so we can see it at night. And that was between my brother and I. And later on, I was sitting on the bench in Morse Place. I was about 15 years old, and it's junior ball. And one catcher got hurt. The second catcher got hurt. And the third catcher was me. They sent me in there, and I never lost a spot.
Terrific, yeah.
And unbelievably, after that, I was on 3 Tribune All-Star games. So that's the moments of junior ball.
We reflect on those All-Star games with great fondness because that was super at the Osborne Stadium.
And so you see, you played at the Osborne, and then later on playing in the amphitheater, and originally at the old Olympic rink.
We talk about you as a baseball player, but you also were an outstanding hockey player.
Well, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Talk about it. International Falls and
well, I played ball there for 8 years through the summers and in between work, and I played with young fellows that came from college area, so they were getting paid by the paper mill. I was playing on because I loved the game, and coming across the border from Fort Frances from Canada into the United States, and played probably once or twice a week. And we played innumerable teams, and we had a great record. Defensively, our team was unbelievable because we did have ex-AAA ball players on our club that came out of International Falls. And at the same time, I was at a singular time, we played a team from Brainerd, Minnesota, and was a hotbed for at that time was 2 of the national and American baseball teams, and played Herb Score. Herb was just out of college, and I played against him, and this guy was a fast baller. He flew it in there. I did finally get a hold of his ball in the game. We went ahead 1-0 in the 8th inning, and Gordy Coleman, who played with him on first base, Gordy Coleman hit a 2-run homer and beat us 2-1.
You also had an experience playing against the touring House of Davis.
Well, yes, twice. Yeah, that was, and they were a lot of fun.
Yeah,
because they're just characters, and we had a great time with them.
Yeah,
and when a guy drops his drawers up in second base or something like that, you don't expect things like that. But they were or in a rocking chair or something like that, which was entertainment. Right. People loved it, and that was great times too.
Alec, the Manitoba Senior Baseball League really developed in western Manitoba, and Dauphin was part of that league. You were up in Dauphin playing at one point?
With the Redbirds 2 years, 2 summers, yeah. And we were a competitive team, and especially with so many locals like Billy Murray, who was inducted the same year as I was, and which was great. And then our team was inducted as a team in 2003, and unbelievably, twice in 3 years you're in the Baseball Hall of Fame, which is, and unfortunately my wife was not with us at that time, but she's in our thoughts, and because she was a backbone, because she said, you love it, you play it. So these are the things that come to mind, and we enjoyed ourselves immensely.
Your
But
your family always was involved with baseball, and your
well,
son's into golf.
son
and,
played ball
yeah.
too, and until he golf took over. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the girls, well, girls are girls. Never push them because they're just.
What do you think of the involvement of baseball over the years in Manitoba? A lot of people say, well, it's kind of gone downhill over the years. What do you think?
Well, it may have, but again, when we get our yearly what do you call them, booklets of the mind, I don't think it has gone down. It's just the idea that the paper does not give you, the media doesn't give you the real picture of what's going around the countryside. And I know it's still there because people love that, and the kids love to play ball, and I just feel that everything today is motivated to professionalism, even though the fellow that's writing the story has nothing to do with professionalism. But I believe that it still should be, and we do get articles every so often. But again, it refers back to the universities and maybe minor leagues around the city. But the Alma Giants are still around and things like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. And in the country, they're always playing ball.
Yes, that's right.
Because they love it, and so many places have such natural terrain. Like I mentioned, Bozeman, and you can't believe that place. I don't know if you ever
north of Swan River.
North of Swan, and it's a natural auditorium. You can sit on the sidelines on a high bank, and in the meantime, there's benches along the first base and third base. But again, everybody gets a little around and everything else, and looks like they're unconcerned, but they came to watch ball, especially tournaments.
Yep. Alec, what does it feel like to be a member of the Hall of Fame?
Well, I think it's actually playing hockey for more years than baseball, but that was most gratifying, and because I did like baseball first. In fact, I think it was Jack Smith. He interviewed me, and he had Kelsey Kurceba, which was my nickname,
right?
And he never knew my first name was Alex. So I said, so what? But he wrote that he couldn't believe that I loved baseball more so than hockey, and although it was all my life from the time I was 12 years old, and I played goal to start, and I made room for Sawchuk and Lenny French so that they can play their position that they wanted to, and I got tired of frozen feet and frozen toes, and at the same time that was just my career going ahead in defense, and that's where I played all.
No regrets?
No, not really.
Yeah.
I used to make more saves than a goalkeeper anyways, because when you're blocking in baseball, you're blocking in hockey.
That's right.
And I can always remember when the Swedes came into town, Lars Erik and Handers and Balfi and Bobby Hull, for that matter, they came to practice with us at St. James Civic Center, and the story there, and what do you call him? He came by to me and he says, "You block pucks?" This is, and I'm certainly, they say that he had passed away on us, but he says, "I don't," But I said, "No," because I was doing that in practice.
Sure.
It was a natural habit because I was taught years ago, and it continued on. It's all timing, and sometimes you get hurt, but part of the game.
Those are the memories and the reflections of Alec Kelsey Kurceba, a member of the Manitoba Baseball Hall of Fame.